Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, Text 18. Lokantaram gatavati Mayyanatha kutumbini Vartishyate katham tvesha Balakananushochati. Loka antaram, into a different life. Gatavati mai, when I am gone. Anatha, bereft of husband. Kutumbini, surrounded by all family members. Vartishyate, will exist. Katham, how. Tu, then. Esha, this woman. Balakan, children. Anushochati, lamenting about. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. King Puranjan was anxiously thinking, alas, my wife is encumbered by so many children. When I pass from this body, how will she be able to maintain all these family members? Alas, she will be greatly harassed by thoughts of family maintenance. Please repeat. King Puranjan was anxiously thinking, alas, my wife is encumbered by so many children. When I pass from this body, how will she be able to maintain all these family members? Alas, she will be greatly harassed by thoughts of family maintenance. Ooh, the second switch off, the second plug on the yeah. Purport. All these thoughts of one's wife indicate that the king was overly engrossed with the thoughts of woman. Generally, a chaste woman becomes a very obedient wife. This causes a husband to become attached to his wife, and consequently he thinks of his wife very much at the time of death. This is a very dangerous situation, as is evident from the life of King Puranjan. If one thinks of his wife instead of Krishna at the time of death, he will certainly not return home back to Godhead, but will be forced to accept the body of a woman and thus begin another chapter of material existence. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmelitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verse is about family attachment in the last moment of life. How King Puranjan was immersed in the thoughts of his wife, and how he was worried about the future of his wife and children, but he is not worried about his own future. He is thinking that he will be whatever he is, and this is quite eulogized in present day society. Oh, he was so selfless. Even though he was dying, he was not thinking about himself, he was thinking about his family members. He was thinking about wife and children. How selfless and how loving he is, how caring he is. In this way, this is eulogized. But actually, it is out of gross foolishness that he thinks that he does not even think about himself. Now, if we say that he should think about himself, it is counted as selfishness. Oh, you are asking him to think about himself. He is thinking about his children and wife. First of all, because he does not know how to think about himself, he cannot think about others also. Because he don't know who is himself and who is others. He doesn't know who they are. He is calculating on the bodily platform. And this is me, I am going to be finished. But they are not finished. They must go on. How will they go on? Anyway, I am not going to go on. He is thinking he is going to be finished, and therefore he is worried about them. It's completely based on ignorance. A person who is actually learned, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, 11th verse, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Prajnavadamscha Bhashase Gatasuna Gatasumscha Nanushocanti Panditaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Now here Puranjan is lamenting for the living, for the wife and children who are going to continue, whereas he himself is going to die, and he is, and he is going to go away, and that he is not thinking, but he is lamenting for the others. But here it is said that Nanushocanti Panditaha, and today's word is used Anusochati, and here Nanusochanti. This is difference. One who is actually wise will not lament. He doesn't know himself. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bharat Bhumite Manusya Janma hole ja Janma Sarthak kori, then Karo Paropakar. You have to Janma Sarthak kori. If you want to help others, if you want to think about others' welfare, Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. If one wants to think about others' welfare, first he must know his own welfare. Now here, as much as this is eulogized, oh, he is not worried about himself, he is worried about his family members, how much he is so selfless and caring. But The rascal does not know how to swim. How can he save others? What is the point of thinking about the person who is dying when he cannot swim himself? He must be able to swim. If he is a lifeguard, if he has to save others, he has to swim himself. This is not selfishness. This is to be able to. This is to be having the capacity to even save others. If he does not have the capacity to save himself, what can he save others? What is the use of thinking about others? And others will go on. Others will go on. How many people have been orphans in this world? Did they not continue living? Somehow or other they continued. But what is going to happen to him because he is thinking like this? He is going to become a woman. The irony of this is, he is worried that anyway I am finished, I am okay, they are not okay. But the point is, they are okay, he is not okay. He is going to be in trouble. They are going to be fine. This is the comedy of this tragedy. He is thinking it's a big tragedy going on, but actually it's a comedy going on. It's the opposite thing happening. And why this is so? This is because of ignorance. He is thinking it's a very serious situation. It is a serious situation. Death is a serious situation. But it's going to be a, if only they have the vision of what is going to happen the next life. If there is an audience and this is the movie, and that's why we are made to be the audience of this movie here. Now further verses it will be explained that he will be getting the form of a woman. Now we are sitting around and laughing at this story now, but this we are not shown in our own lives. We do not know where we are going next life. Here it is shown that he will become a woman. In our lives this is not shown. And therefore it becomes very important and fearful and lamenting or tragic. So that's why Bhagavatam is giving us the zoom out, picture zoom out, Now we are zooming into this life only. Zooming out another life. Okay, look what happening. It looks like a tragedy. Okay, come out a little bit. Now it's comedy. So this is the effect of ignorance. So when we have knowledge, then we will laugh at that ignorance. That's what Krishna did. What Krishna did when Arjuna was lamenting? Krishna was smiling. You see here. Okay, first let's see 2:1. Okay, let's go in sequence. 2:1. Second chapter, first verse. You see, Arjuna is saying like this. Arjuna uvacha, Sanjay uvacha. Tam tatha kripayavishtam ashrupurna kulekshanam vishedantamidam vakyam uvacha madhusudanah. You see, translation. Sanjay, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudan Krishna spoke the following words. Okay. Shri Bhagavan uvacha kutastvaakashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anaryajushtam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets but to infamy. You see, what Arjuna is taking as a very serious subject matter, Krishna is writing it off as a weakness of the heart. And next you see Hridaya Daurbalyam. Next verse, see 2-3. Klaibyam asmagamah partha naitatvai upapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvotishtha parantapa. You know what is this? Hridaya daurbalyam? Hridaya means heart. Durbalam, balam means strength. Durbalam means weakness. Daurbalyam means of the weakness of the heart. Just like Drupada is the king, Draupadi is the daughter of the king. So anything coming off, a derivative, that is Draupadi, like that. Durbalam Daurbalyam. Now you see, O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading importance. You are behaving like a eunuch, important man. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. You see how he is. That's why he called him a fool. Nanu Sochanti Pandita. You are speaking big words, but you are a fool. Because your focus is on the body. Your idea, even though he maybe want to be compassionate, he is trying to do good and welfare for others, all those high sounding words will not yield anything because it is on the focus is on the body. Welfare is good. To have compassion is good. Why then it is chastised? Because the subject matter is wrong. Compassion for the soul is good. What is the use of compassion for the body? Whether today or tomorrow it is going to go. We need to use it as long as we have to are in this human form of life, and after that it will go. The body will be finished anyway. How much ever we are compassionate. And how much ever we neglect, the soul will continue. Either in this body or the next body, it will continue. But the problem is, the soul will continue where? That is the question. Whether in hell, heaven, earth, or in Vaikuntha. The only way we can get to Vaikuntha is when we become Krishna conscious. And Krishna conscious means Krishna conscious at the last moment of our life. At that point, if we are stuck with this kind of consciousness, like Puranjan, Anushochati, about his wife, then this is next life woman. So that is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think 3:31, 41 or 42. 41. A living entity who as a result, a living entity who as a result of attachment to a woman in his previous life has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house and other material assets. So this is the future of such a person. So we have to be very vigilant, and this story is explained here. Even the other example of Bharat Maharaj, how he passed through 3 lives: King Bharat, the deer, and Jada Bharat. Now that view we will not have in our practical experience of a person going through from this life to this life to this life. We cannot have. Because we can see in the Bhagavatam, okay, he has passed through these 3 lives, then we understand the full story. Otherwise, it is incomplete. So that's what happens in this world. We are only seeing incomplete stories. Incomplete start, incomplete end. We don't know how it started. We do not know what was before, and we do not know what is going to happen after that. So we're just seeing this small window of the whole story, and we are making our decisions. We are becoming lamenting. We are this thing all based on that one window. Therefore, to broaden our understanding, these kinds of stories are explained. Of course, this whole Puranjan story is a allegory, but Bharat Maharaj's story is real. Either way, the same moral is being conveyed. That we should not be attached to this temporary, flickering relationships. There is a nice verse in the 8th canto. You see this. 8:22-9. Prabhupada used to quote from this verse always when he used to refer to relatives. किमात्मनानेन जहाति योऽन्ततः किं रिक्तहारैः स्वजनाख्यदस्युभिः किं जायया संसृतिहेतुभूतया मर्त्यस्य गेहैः किमिहायुषो व्ययः. What is the use of the material body which automatically leaves its owner at the end of life? And what is the use of all one's family members who are actually plunderers taking away money that is useful for the service of the Lord in spiritual opulence? What is the use of a wife? She is only the source of increasing material conditions. And what is the use of family, home, country and community? Attachment for them merely wastes the valuable energy of one's lifetime. You see? So this is the... Now this is not only for brahmacharis, and wife also, grihasthas also should be always reminded. There are, many situations in grihastha life. Broadly categorized into two. One is when the wife is cooperative. The other is when the wife is not cooperative. Sometimes the wife is always not cooperative. Sometimes the wife is always cooperative. Sometimes the wife will be cooperative, at sometimes she will not be cooperative. So, a person who is, who has gone through some kind of brahmachari training at least, whenever there is some non-cooperation from the wife, he will think about sannyas. Suddenly he will. And then when the wife becomes cooperative, I think no need. Next time let me think about it. Let me think about it later. So, in this way one is moved by these situations. But actually, to take the step of sannyas is very, very big. It's not so easy like, there is one fight and then finish sannyas. I think Vishwambar, I don't know, somebody who came up with this quote: love at first sight, divorce at first fight. So first fight, divorce, let's take sannyas. So not that easy. So we have to, in the purport today, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning of a cooperative wife, the danger of a cooperative wife. Now, everybody wants a cooperative wife. If a wife is not cooperative, it is dangerous. It is a hell in the house. So, if the wife is cooperative, that is another danger. This is the danger of cooperative wife, because the man will become very attached and he will be thinking of how this wife will continue if I pass away. Therefore, in other community, but in Telugu we call a woman who has passed away before her husband is very fortunate. In Telugu we call her Muttaidu. Right? Muttaidu means a wife who has passed away before the husband. If a wife is living after the husband died, she is a widow, that is not so fortunate. But if she passes before the husband, then it is very fortunate. They say like that. Then they say, the man then can die peacefully because he doesn't have to worry about his wife. She can also die, peacefully. He can die peacefully. Peaceful death. No such thing. No such thing. The main thing is whether the person is Krishna conscious or not. Just by being the other person being around it, or it doesn't make any difference, or the lack of it. Whether the person is absent or present. All these things are from the materialistic point of view they are looking at. But spiritually it doesn't have any value. There is a King Anga. He prayed like this. Let's see. Let me see if I can remember. I think it's 4 or 13. He was talking about the son in the 46th verse. Maybe the wife and the 13:9. Let's see. he is thinking, oh, this is already, okay, I think before this. That boy was partially in the dynasty of irreligion. So this is about Vena. So there was this king Anga who was a very, very religious person, devotee. But his son was a demon number one, Vena. A rascal like anything. He was so rascal. He was a boy. He was playing with his friends and he lost some game. He went and beheaded his friend as a boy. That already set the precedent of what is going to be when he grows up. So this Anga, he was very much disturbed by this boy. How come, my boy is like this? And that this is the reason why. So let's see if the previous verse. The king was very liberal, and after taking permission from the priest, he took the preparation in his joined palms, and after smelling it, he offered a portion to his. Actually, let's go a little back, flashback. So he did not have a son for a long time, this king Anga. So he was really wanting a son. This will teach him a lesson, Okay, it's easier for me to show. It's easier for me to show now. That Veda based thing. Wow, it's so small. It's a very interesting story here. It gives us a different perspective. I think I don't know whether you can't see. That is way too big, I think. A little bit smaller. I don't know the. You see this? Of the 12 sons, Ulmukha begot 6 sons of his wife Pushkarini. They were all very good sons, and the names were Anga, Sumana, Khyati, Kratu, Angira, and Gaya. Now we are only talking about this Anga now. What is happening to this Anga's life? The wife of Anga, Sunitha, gave birth to a son named Vena, who was very crooked. The saintly king Anga was very disappointed with Vena's bad character, and he left home and kingdom and went out to the forest. Now, you see, then he said, I want to hear about Vena. Vidura asked. Now, once the great king Anga arranged to perform the great sacrifice known as Ashwamedha. All the expert Brahmanas present knew how to invite the demigods, but in spite of their efforts, no demigods participated or appeared in that sacrifice. See? So, Ashwamedha Yajna he wanted to do. The Brahmanas, they know how to invite the demigods, but despite their best efforts, no demigods participated or appeared in that sacrifice. The priests engaged in the sacrifice then informed King Anga, O king, we are properly offering the clarified butter, that means ghee, in the sacrifice, but despite all our efforts, the demigods do not accept it. O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care and is not polluted. Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way, for all the brahmanas and priests present here are expert and are executing the performances properly. Now today there are so many homam going on. Here they are doing everything nicely, still it is not coming, the demigods. You think all this demigod worship today in Kali Yuga will work? They are doing this homam, Ashtalakshmi puja, and Saraswati puja, Durga puja, nothing is going to work. When the chanting was without mistake, when all the paraphernalia was pure, collected in a most honest way, everything is good, still the demigods were not accepting. Today they will accept in Kali Yuga. You see? That's why useless. Harer Nama, eva kevalam. Kalo nasteva, gadran. The other day one man called me. I know him, he is a businessman. So he said, we have a new office, please come and do some puja. I said, our puja is only kirtan. Yeah, we'll do kirtan. No, I don't want kirtan, I want puja. I said, you call Lakshmi Narayan temple. We want, see, and then I told him, I don't want kirtan. He said, no, in Kali Yuga, only kirtan will work. That's the only thing that will work. Other pujas are useless. So we only do kirtan. So, no, he said, I don't want kirtan, I want puja. Okay, then you call the other temple. I told him. He called, I think he got it done or something. So people don't understand. They think there is some value. There is no value, useless. If he doesn't want kirtan, then he did not understand. Of course, they are not even care. They don't care much to understand all this philosophy. So anyway, everything they were doing properly, demigods not coming. Then next, dear king, we do not find any reason that the demigods should feel insulted or neglected in any way, but still the demigods who are witnesses for the sacrifice do not accept their shares. We do not know why this is so. Maitreya explained that King Anga, after hearing the statements of the priests, was greatly aggrieved. At that time, he took permission from the priests to break his silence and inquired from all the priests who were present in the sacrificial arena. King Anga addressed the priestly order. My dear priests, kindly tell me what offense I have committed. Although invited, the demigods are neither taking part in the sacrifice nor accepting their shares. You see, he was actually very pious, Anga. Still some trace of some pap is there, some sin. That's why the demigods are not. No, today everybody is full of sin only. To the brim, to the mouth, full sin. What they will come, these demigods. The head priests said, O king, in this life we do not find any sinful activity. Wow. In this life no sinful activity. Still the demigod did not come. Even within your mind there is no sinful activity. So you are not in the least offensive. But we can see that in your previous life you performed sinful activities, due to which, in spite of your having all qualifications, you have no son. You see? Okay. Now, because of some sinful activity, you have no son. Then, O king, we wish all good fortune for you. You have no son, but if you pray at once to the Supreme Lord and ask for a son, and if you execute the sacrifice for that purpose, the enjoyer of the sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will fulfill your desire. So, if he has a son, if that sin, whatever that sin was, it is counteracted. If he has a son, then the demigods will come. That was the whole point. When Hari, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, is invited to fulfill your desire for a son, all the demigods will come with him and take their shares in the sacrifice. That's the true thing. When the Lord is there, all the demigods will be there. That's why to invite even the demigods, one must chant Hare Krishna. Because in the form of the name Krishna, when Krishna is there, the demigods have to be there. Right? If they are really devotees, they will be there. So that's why when Prabhupada said, sometime Narad Muni came, all this, it should not be a wonder, because when the chanting of Krishna's name is there, all these great sages and demigods, they will come. Because whenever Krishna descends as incarnation, they all come, right? So this is also incarnation. Kalikale Namrupe Krishna avatar. And in Kali Yuga, Krishna is incarnated as his name. So when Hari, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, is invited to fulfill your desire for a son, all the demigods will come with him and take their shares in the sacrifice. Alright? The performer of sacrifices under Karmakanda activities achieves the fulfillment of the desire for which he worships the Lord. So this is a Karmakanda process. But the Lord has a different plan to teach him a good lesson. Thus, for the sake of a son for King Anga, they decided to offer oblations to Lord Vishnu, who is situated in the hearts of all living entities. As soon as the oblation was offered in the fire, a person appeared from the fire altar wearing a golden garland and a white dress. He was carrying a golden pot filled with rice boiled in milk. I mean, these kind of things were happening. You know how great sacrifice that was. You see? Even then the son came out a rascal. After all this. And then, so he was carrying a golden pot filled with rice boiled in milk. So this looks very auspicious, right? But you see the result? Materially it's like that. However auspicious it looks, and then it's going to be disappointment. So there is no point hoping for something good to happen in this material. It will not. The only good is that they become Krishna conscious. That is the only good. Otherwise there is no good here. The king was very liberal, and after taking permission from the priest, he took the preparation in his joint palms, and after smelling it, he offered a portion to his wife. Although the queen had no son, after eating that food which had the power to produce a male child, she became pregnant by her husband, and in due course of time she gave birth to a son. That boy was partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified. Sunita's father, the mother's side, was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. You see, after fixing his bow and arrow, the cruel boy used to go to the forest and unnecessarily kill innocent deer, and as soon as he came, all the people would cry, "Here comes cruel Vena, here comes cruel Vena." Actually, if you go to the purport here, Prabhupada mentioned something very interesting. You see, purport. The child's mother, Sunita, was the daughter of death personified. Generally, the daughter receives the qualifications of her father, and the son acquires those of the mother. So, the mother acquired the father's qualification, death personified, and he acquired the mother qualification, which is death personified. So, generally the daughter, okay, we have read that. So, according to the axiomatic truth that things equal to the same thing are equal to one another, the child born of King Anga became the follower of his maternal grandfather. According to Smriti Shastra, a child generally follows the principles of his maternal uncle's house. Naranam Matula Karma means that a child generally follows the qualities of his maternal family. If the maternal family is very corrupt or sinful, the child, even though born of a good father, becomes a victim of the maternal family. The other way around is, even if the father is not good, if the maternal family is very good, he will become a good person. According to Vedic civilization, therefore, before the marriage takes place, an account is taken of both the boys' and girls' families. If according to astrological calculation the combination is perfect, then marriage takes place. Sometimes, however, there is a mistake and the family life becomes frustrating. It appears that King Anga did not get a very good wife in Sunita because she was the daughter of death personified. Sometimes the Lord arranges an unfortunate wife for his devotee so that gradually, due to family circumstances, the devotee becomes detached from his wife and home and makes progress in devotional life. It appears that by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Anga, although a pious devotee, got an unfortunate wife like Sunita and later on a bad son like Vena. But the result was that he got complete freedom from the entanglement of family life and left home to go back to Godhead. This is opposite of today's example of Puranjan, who had a very chaste wife, very supportive wife. Everybody wants a supportive wife, but you see the danger of that. At the end of life, he got attached to the wife and became woman. Whereas Whereas Anga, he had a wife who is not supportive and a son who was extremely rascal. And then you see how he will think. We will read the next few verses. It's very, hilarious. But you see, this is the thing. Unfortunate family circumstances bring spiritual fortune, whereas family circumstances bring spiritual misfortune. If we are not careful, it's actually not based on family circumstances, you see, but we get attached to the family circumstances and we become spiritually unfortunate if we are not careful. But these kinds of reverses in family life or in material life actually brings great fortune. But there is another story in Gaudiya Math. I think I have also told this many times. Where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple, after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur physically departed, two of his disciples were made into gurus. One was a very great scholar in Shastra, and another was a very good manager. The scholar, I think, was a sannyasi, but the manager was a grihastha, householder. So these two people were made gurus. Both of them were not qualified. Just knowing Shastra is not enough. You must be pure devotee and authorized by his guru. So nobody was authorized. Prematurely they were made gurus. So this grihastha, he was organizing preaching very nicely, organizing festivals and opening temples and all that. Now what happened? One day, his son was about teenager, maybe 15 years, 16 years old, and his wife, he did not know all these years. And the son saw that his mother was bringing another man to the home and she was having sex with him. And then the boy came to know. Then he said, I will tell my father what you are doing. Then what she did, she killed her own son. And then she could not hide and she killed herself. So when the father was in the temple, this happened in the house. And the father came back when in the evening, or I think he came to know the news or whatever. He came back home and he saw both his wife and son dead. Then he thought, all my families are now gone. What is the use of me living? He also committed suicide. Prabhupada, he referred to this incident and he said he was foolish. This was his understanding that, oh, my wife was a prostitute, my son was killed by my wife. What is the use of this kind of family? So total, because he had such a high reputation in the whole spiritual society, Gaudiya Math. So high reputation. And then his wife and child died like this. Such a, what kind of reputation, you see? But what is the use of that reputation anyway? So Prabhupada said he should have taken sannyas immediately. He should have taken it. That's a great blessing if the family is like that and somehow or other one has become detached. But because he was materially so engrossed, it just showed his attachment and he committed suicide, thinking of his wife and child. So what will become in next life? Like the other day, I think Prithviraj Prabhu was asking. What happens if one thinks about a devotee wife? Because she is a devotee. Thinking about devotee become devotee, right? So what will happen if one thinks about devoted wife? Then Sundar Prabhu was giving class. He said, then next life he will become a devoted wife. But still become wife, will become woman. So here not even devoted, he is a prostitute. So this was shocking, and he was shocked and he committed suicide. But that very thing could have been his cause for liberation if he had taken it, if he had been spiritually strong. Prabhupada actually criticized that. But any materialist would follow his path, commit suicide. Become just, no meaning to his life. His family is gone like that. Because everybody in this material world, he works hard for his family. And when his family turns out like that, he finds no meaning in living. So therefore everybody might sympathize, the whole world might sympathize in this kind of. But Prabhupada was criticizing that. And a spiritual person may sound heartless. Yeah, how can he criticize? Of course, he is so, he was so distraught, depressed. But a person who is spiritually knowledgeable, he should not be depressed by this. He should take it as a great blessing. That yes, now is a good, all my attachment is immediately gone. How fortunate, I became by Krishna's mercy. So that's how he should have taken, Prabhupada was saying. In fact, he himself had a wife who was not cooperative, Prabhupada. And because of that, he took sannyas. So now, let's go to the next. Now, he wanted badly a son, right? And he did this big yajna, and now he got a son who was a rascal. Now, see, the boy was so cruel that while playing with young boys of his age, he would kill them very mercilessly, as if they were animals meant for slaughter. That's how he used to play with his friends. Play and then he would get lost the game, mercilessly slaughter them. See, where we see this kind of child, After seeing the cruel and merciless behavior of his son, Vena, King Anga, punished him in different ways to reform him, but was unable to bring him to the path of gentleness. He thus became greatly aggrieved. Now you see what he says. The king thought to himself, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. The same thing he was lamenting before. I have no son, I have no son. Then he got a big, some golden personality appeared from the fire and gave him this kheer. And then now you see, he had a son. Now he is saying, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives, so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son. You see? A sinful son causes a person's reputation to vanish. His irreligious activities at home cause irreligion and quarrel among everyone, and this creates only endless anxiety. Who, if he is considerate and intelligent, would desire such a worthless son? Such a son is nothing but a bond of illusion for the living entity, and he makes one's home miserable. Then the king thought. Then you see, now change. Now then the king thought, actually a bad son is better than a good son. Because a good son creates attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. For a family man, this is, what is this? What kind of verses are these? Persons who have no son are better than persons who have son. Person who has a bad son is better than a person who has a good son. Person who has a bad wife is better than a person who has a good wife. What is this? Because when we are there are two reactions to depressing situations like this. If a person is not spiritually strong, he will go down with it. He will also commit suicide, he will go down with it. Or he becomes a lunatic, or he becomes drunkard or whatever. But if one is actually spiritually advanced, he will see this as a great opportunity. To see opportunity in utter hopelessness is only possible for a devotee. Because when there is no hope for material activity, there is full hope for spiritual activity. You see, it is inversely proportional. You know what is inversely proportional? That means if you are busy with 80% of your life is busy with materialistic activities, you only have 20% of time for spiritual activity, and that too full of disturbance from the 80% activity you have already done. Like suppose 80% of the day you have spent in office, boss shouted at you, customer shouted at you, and you come back 20% you are chanting, you are still that shouting of the customer from the 80% is still coming here, boss and customer. That is still affecting as you are chanting. You see, it bleeds over to the 20% also. Basically, you are just doing 2 or 1% of spiritual life. See how? But when there is no opportunity for material life, why there is material life? Because of our family situation and everything. But if the family situation is for some or other removed, now there is zero family work, zero material work. Now there is full opportunity, 100% for spiritual life. You see, if one is materially very busy, spiritually he has no time. But if he has nothing to do materially, he is fully free. In Singapore they say very free. Oh, he is very free. They use it in a different way. When somebody just disturbs others, oh, he is very free. Nothing better to do. He just want to disturb others. So he is very free. So then he can fully apply himself to. That is why sannyas is taken, so that material activity is made zero. The family, leave the family. Panchashortham vanam vrajet. Then only concentrate on spiritual life. Because the last moment of life is very important. At that moment, if we are with the family, it is very dangerous. As much as people say that, oh, how can you leave him alone, and he's old, he used to be taken care of. We always like to think like that. But actually for the soul, it is said that the best death, of course, is to die in presence of devotees and everybody chanting. Other than that, the best death is to die with nobody knowing that whether he is living or dead. Die alone somewhere, nobody knows. That is the best way to die. The worst way to die is with all the family members sitting around and crying. The worst way. Because he is, first of all, will be attached to the family members, and seeing them crying, he also starts crying inside, but he doesn't know how to express. All his senses will be shut. But inside he is full of grief, and in that grief he leaves the body, thinking of his family. And like today, Anushochati, thinking about his wife, children. If there are grandchildren, he will worry about the grandchildren also. Oh, I have not taught enough wisdom to my grandchildren. First of all, he does not have any to teach them. Otherwise, he wouldn't be thinking like this. But he thinks is very important. Without him, the family cannot go on. Same thing, Gandhi also, he was thinking, without me, the country will not go on. Usually, the country would have gone better if he was not there. And the country has been going on after he left. But he was thinking, he was very important. If he is not there, the country will not survive. He did not survive, country is still surviving. So this is the paradoxical situations that arise in this material world. It's very bewildering. Best thing is therefore, don't have much worry about how things are going to be maintained. Things have already been maintained for millions of years. You think we are going to make a huge difference, that without us the whole world will collapse, the sky is going to fall to the earth, and then the heavens will be closed. What? Nothing. Same thing is going to continue. Things will go on. Somehow or other people will take. That's why the Sridhar Swami story, Sridhar Swami wanted to become sannyasi. He was a young man. He wanted to become sannyasi. Parents said, no, you must get married. Okay, he got married. He thought, after marrying, I will take sannyas. And what kind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also did that. He married, months later he took sannyas. You see? Because his mother asked him to marry. Okay, since you asked me to marry, I will marry. But then months after that took sannyas. So he said, okay, I will marry. After that I will take sannyas. Then the wife asked, no, I want a child. Okay. So she became pregnant. He thought, once the child is delivered, I will take sannyas. The wife delivered the child, but the wife died. He was left with the child in his hand. What kind of sannyas is this? What I was thinking and what happened? I don't even have a wife now. I have a newly born baby in my hands. What is this? He was thinking, Krishna, what is this? Then he was As he was thinking, one lizard fell from the tree, one baby lizard just born, and he found one insect, small insect, and he stuck his tongue out and ate the insect and disappeared into the bush. I thought, if the Lord can provide for this baby lizard you just born, He will also provide for this baby. Kept the baby there, left, took sannyas. Now you may say, oh, this is all escapist tendencies, this is escapist, no responsibility at all, what kind of nonsense father is this? Yes, generally it would have been, but for spiritual reason, anything can be done. There is actually no irresponsibility there, because he took the highest responsibility. And he wrote commentary which is even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is respecting such commentaries of Bhagavatam. Materialistic persons cannot understand this activity of sadhus, of devotees. The renunciation, they cannot digest. Anytime you renounce, they will say he is irresponsible. Whether he is, when one becomes a brahmachari and joins the temple, irresponsible, not taking of young man, suppose take care of his parent, not taking care, irresponsible. Or when the man becomes old, when the children are young, irresponsible. Children are so young, he is not taking care. Or children grown up are irresponsible. Why he is taking sannyas? He should guide his, just now they are married, he should guide them how to, because he is experienced in married life. He should, tell them how to be, teach them. Anytime you leave, they will say irresponsible. So no need to listen to them. When one has to surrender to Krishna, he should only listen to Krishna and Guru. Because people will keep on blaming. We can't listen to people's blames. The real aim of life is to become devotee, and that is the real success. And eventually Sridhar Swami went, and the baby was adopted by somebody, and the baby grew up. No problem. It's not that the baby died. No. The neighbor, so everybody was there. Somebody took the baby, and he was. He became great devotee. He was already a great devotee. We went to see his samadhi also, Orissa, near this Kshirchora Gopinath Mandir. His samadhi is there only. Sridhar Swami. So you see, then the king thought a bad son is better than a good son, because a good son creates attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. The point here is intelligent man. Situation can be all this, but an intelligent man will take advantage of the situation and come out. A foolish man will die with it. He will go down with it. So how to become intelligent? We cannot wait for these kind of situations to become devotees. At that time we will not, because of our past conditioning, we will think materially only. King Anga was already a devotee. That's why he could see in this way when the situation actually happened. If he was not a devotee, if this happened, he will not be able to think like this. That means we have to become devotee when everything is all right. When nothing is endangered, actually everything is endangered, because the moment we are born, we are going to die. That is written. But when everything is, when we can be peaceful in our mind, at that time we have to become Krishna conscious and fully deliberate on these subjects. So when the thing actually happens, like in the military, there is exercise sometimes, like military exercises, as if some, even here in Singapore also they will do some kind of, what is that? Fake terrorist attacks. What is that called? Mock situations, where, as if somebody has, terrorist has taken, possession of a place or something like that, and how to evacuate and how to conduct rescue operations and all these things. So this is all preparation for this is all drill, practice drills for the real thing. So we have to, when we are all right, that time we have to mentally prepare for ourselves. Not that we have to always expect something bad to happen or something. No. If we are Krishna conscious, If you are always expecting something bad to happen and fearing that is again another nonsense. We are still worried. No, we have to just become Krishna conscious strongly. Then automatically, when any situation happens, we will be ready. Because we may be prepared for one situation and mentally, what if another situation happens? So it's not about preparing for a particular situation, no. This is a Stoicism. I don't know if you know this philosophy, Stoicism. They always think about death. Death is coming, and they even play satanic musics. Like very horror or very tragic music. They will play to remind themselves of death, so that they will become prepared for it. They will not, fear it. But this is not the way to prepare for death. You will become a lunatic like that. Real thing, how to prepare is, we have to become blissful in Krishna consciousness. That is the best way to prepare for death. Or any situation in life. Gurunapi vichalyate. Then one can be perfectly composed in any situation in life. You see, that's why King Anga, you see how he thought. Thinking like that, King Anga could not sleep at night. He became completely indifferent to household life. He lost all emotions for it. Once, therefore, in the dead of night, he got up from bed and left Vena's mother, his wife, who was sleeping deeply. He gave up all attraction for his greatly opulent kingdom, and unseen by anyone, he very silently gave up his home and opulence and proceeded towards the forest. See? When it was understood that the king had indifferently left home, all the citizens, priests, ministers, friends, and people in general were greatly aggrieved. They began to search for him all over the world, just as a less experienced mystic searches out the super soul within himself. Then, of course, Vena takes over the charge, and then he is eventually killed by the priests. You see, the whole, not only usually the family cries for you, here the whole country was crying for him. When the citizens could not find any trace of the king after searching for him everywhere, they were very disappointed, and they returned to the city where all the great sages of the country assembled because of the king's absence. With tears in his eyes, the citizens offered respectful obeisances and informed the sages in full detail that they were unable to find the king anywhere. So anyway, the thing is, it is not that a depressing family situation is good or a favorable family situation is good. No. There have been examples where family situation has been favorable and still they became devotees. There have been examples of unfavorable family situation and still they became rascals. It is not that a depressing family situation is automatically a spiritual benediction. No. It depends on the Krishna consciousness of the person undergoing those situations. As we know, most of the life is already fated, right? Whatever has to happen has to happen. Now, how we react to that situation is what matters. Is how we will lead our life. Whether our life is miserable or whether our life is happy, all depends on how we react to our circumstances. So, if we are Krishna conscious, then we know how to react. So, the whole point is to become Krishna conscious and not be attached. It's not that, oh yes Prabhu, let my family become unfavorable to me. I'll take sannyas. No, it will not happen. When family becomes unfavorable, you see that devotee, he committed suicide. You see, that also can happen. So, why? Because his attachment is there. If his attachment was not there, it would not have happened that way. So, ultimately, it's our own Krishna consciousness. If we are Krishna conscious, then Krishna will make all the necessary arrangements. Like, for example, Sundar Gopal Prabhu, his wife was very cooperative, everything nice. But then she passed away when he was 50 years old. And he took it as a blessing. Wife is cooperative still, things happen. Because Krishna, he is never missed. His sadhana always perfect, even as a grahastha. Even sannyasis could not keep with his, ISKCON sannyasis could not keep with his standard of sadhana when he was a grahastha. So that strong Krishna consciousness has brought the change. Not that he was very lucky, that's why he can be like, where did luck come from? Krishna has to arrange that, right? Why he will arrange for a devotee who is not ready? He will never arrange. He will arrange for a devotee who is ready. For a devotee who is not ready, he will give some more. You become ready first. Give some more slap until you become ready. Then yes. So it's not to be just, oh, he was lucky, that's why he can. I am. And my wife is not dying. What to do? That like that it won't work. That kind of consciousness is useless. So it's not about wife dying or not dying, or husband dying or not dying. It's about our Krishna consciousness. We don't want anybody to. We are not saying that wife should die or something like that. But then one goes to the temple so that the kitchen will be open. No, it's not like that. It's just that when we are Krishna conscious, any situation can be spiritualized. Prabhupada lost his business, took it as a spiritual blessing. So any situation, whatever it is. Prabhupada's wife did not pass away. He left. Because he was strongly Krishna conscious. The whole point is there. In fact, Prabhupada even said, if the wife is very cooperative, no need to even leave the wife. That does not mean become attached to the wife also. That is also danger. One must be attached to Krishna. Whether one is, that's why it is said, Grihe tako, vane tako, sada hari bole dako. The main thing is, whether in family life or whether in renounced life, one has to be attached to Krishna. It is not that renounced life means he is liberated. No. He can be renounced and he can be still thinking of women, wine, and he must be attached. It is not that one has taken saffron cloth, he is fully detached. No. Mind, where is the mind? That is the whole point. So we have to become strongly Krishna conscious. Mayarpita mano buddhir, Krishna said. Fully engage your mind and intelligence in me, thinking of me. That will purify us, not our dress, not our so-called initiation, sannyas ashram. Now he has taken sannyas initiation. It's all external. The real thing is how our mind is. One can be completely in grahastha ashram and he will be renounced. Like Ramanujacharya, the disciple, brahmacharis were fighting, this is my kopin, that is your kopin. They were fighting over kopin. Whereas the grahastha disciple, he asked I don't want to narrate the whole story, it will become very long. He asked the disciple brahmachari to go and steal from the grahastha disciple to teach them how this renounce this grahastha is. And the wife, she was lying down and they took out her ornaments, and then she turned the other side so that they can take these other ornaments also. But they got afraid, oh, she is woken up, then they ran away. Then when the husband came home, why are you only one side, all earring, bangle, what is this, what kind of dressing is, fashion is this? No, not fashion, they came to steal. Then why they stole only one side? Because I would turn the other side so that they could steal the other side also, the brahmacharis. But they got afraid and they ran away. He said, you fool, you should not have moved. Then they could have stolen all the others also. There must be some financial difficulty in the temple, that's why the Guru must have asked, Ramanujacharya must have asked them to steal or something. There must be some issue. Why did you see now we have this, supposed to be in the temple. Then the brahmachari saw all this, wow, the grahastha is so renounced. We are fighting for some cloth. Even jewelry gone, he is not doing anything. He is thinking this jewelry also should have been gone. What kind of grahastha is? See? Consciousness. It's not about the external ashram, it's about the consciousness. Alright, any questions or comments on this topic? Ajanya is asking question. Individual should be free to associate with Krishna only. It is individual freedom, is it? Yeah. Any circumstances one can be Krishna conscious. Whether it is the most depressing or most encouraging or whatever. It's my individual freedom, of course. What else? Vanajakshi Mataji. Let me make this big because I can't read it, it's too small. Vanajakshi Mataji is asking, Prabhuji, every day the soul experiences that it is not a body when we are asleep, but as soon as wakes up, assumes that it is the body. Why is it so? Why can't we be always into that consciousness of bliss? No. It is wrong. In deep sleep, we are completely unconscious. That is not bliss. There is no bliss, there is no happiness, simply unconsciousness. That is in fact the most ignorant position. Deep sleep is the most ignorant position. And we forget we are the body, we forget we are the soul also, we forget everything, we are unconscious. It's not that we are self-realized. When we are dreaming, then we are identifying with the dream body. Not dream body in the sense that six-pack, not dream body. The dream's body, the body in the dream. So, we are identifying with that body. And when we are awake, we are identifying with this body. Either we are unconscious, or we are identifying with the body in the dream, or we are identifying with the body in this bigger dream, so-called reality. It's not reality, it's also dream. So, all the Jagriti, Swapna and Sushupti, three material stages of consciousness, all are ignorance. The only blissful state is when we transcend this and come to the fourth stage of consciousness, which is Vasudeva Sthiti. That's when we actually understand that I am a spirit soul, I am not this body. That only comes with knowledge. How can we have that knowledge when we are sleeping? We cannot have. That means all sleeping people are self-realized. So everybody just sleep, no, why you wake up? Yoga Nidra. No. That is not Yoga Nidra. That is Bhoga Nidra or Roga Nidra. Prabhupada says one who sleeps 12 hours, more than 12 hours is mode of ignorance. Roga. That is a mode of ignorance. One who sleeps more than 8 hours is mode of passion. Bhoga. Bhoga Nidra. One who sleeps 6 hours or less, that is Yoga Nidra. That is also not Yoga Nidra, that is also Nidra only. Yoga Nidra is only by Mahavishnu. He is sleeping. His sleeping is not our sleeping. Our sleeping is of ignorance. His sleeping is no ignorance. He fully knows what he is doing. He is creating. He is engineering the whole material world just by his breathing while he is sleeping. So that is the Lord's sleeping. That is full bliss. Lord sleeping is, yes, full bliss. Our sleeping is, ignorant. Only with knowledge then we can actually get that self-realization. The Atma Tattvam, human life is meant for that. In all three stages of consciousness, we cannot distinguish between the soul and the body. In the deep sleep, we don't have idea of soul or body. In the dream, we have idea of the subtle body, and still we don't understand we were soul. While we are awake, we are thinking of the gross and subtle body. Still we do not know. Only when we can separate, like the Hamsa, like the swan, take the milk and water, separate them. That's why devotee is called Paramahamsa, because he can separate the material and the spiritual. So once we can understand like that, Atma Tattvam, until we understand like that, our life is a failure, and that is explained here. (555) Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that? Parabhavastavad abodhajato yavanna jigyasata atmatattvam yavat kriyastavadidam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandham. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. See? As long as one does not inquire into the spiritual values of life. Yavanna jigyasata atmatattvam. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its result in actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. So this Atma Tattvam, this word you see, Atma Tattvam. Yavan na jignasata Atma Tattvam. If it does not inquire about the Atma Tattvam, this Atma Tattvam means what? That is explained in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita 2.16. The study of Atma Tattvam means this. नासतो विद्यते भावो ना भावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोन्तस्त्वनयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So this is proper study of separating what is spiritual, what is material. The material will not endure, the spiritual will not change. The soul will not change, the body will not endure. So, when we understand this, then we know what to do with life. So this is Atma Tattvam, separation, this proper understanding. That only happens with knowledge. Otherwise, Krishna would have said, Arjuna, why you are lamenting? Sleep, you will become blissful. Sleep now on the chariot. So sleeping is not bliss. Power nap. Take a power nap. No. He gave him a power slap. He said, you are a fool. Talking like big word, nonsense you are talking. All right, I think anything else? Nelly Das. Prabhuji, is there any particular time to do Gita Path? What if I made mistakes in chanting the shlokas? Whatever time you do Gita Path, that is auspicious time. Because any time without Gita Path is inauspicious. Even if it is the most auspicious Muhurtam, if there is no Gita Path in that, there is inauspicious. So please read any time. There is no time and place. Read. Whatever time you read, that is a good time. Because reading is good. Without reading, any time is bad. Next, what if I made mistakes in chanting the shlokas? There is a verse. Murkho vadati Vishnaya, Dhiro vadati Vishnave, Ubhayorapi, what is that? Samah Punyas, Bhavagrahi Janardana. So it doesn't matter if you cannot pronounce it properly. The main thing is you have to try. And we have done a shloka learning course series playlist in our YouTube channel. We have a playlist, ISKM TV channel. You can see how to learn shlokas. Otherwise also it is okay. The main thing is not the pronunciation. The main thing is the understanding and the following. That is the main thing. If I can chant very nicely shloka, like many Pandits, Purohits in India, they chant Purusukta Om Sahasrasesha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhomim Vishnave. They everything they chant, but don't even know what they are chanting, no fully attached to the family and everything. What is the point? So, even if not proper chanting, understanding is the main thing. That lesson is already there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where that Brahmana who did not know how to read, he was like just looking at the Bhagavad Gita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are the proper student because you have understood. Shloka learning series link is there on the comment section now. Thank you for that. So you can follow that and learn how to chant the shlokas nicely. Alright, I think we'll stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Utai Gaur Premanand.